Welcome back, everybody. Professional wrestler, comic book collector, video game enthusiast, Zach the Ripper Comics here. And I'm not expecting a lot of you to tune in and find this, as this was a last minute decision, but I've decided to do our weekly WWE Monday Night Raw review and reactions live here tonight on YouTube. So if you're watching this after the fact and I comment to some of the people in the chat throughout the video, that's why. If you'd like to join us on future Zach the Ripper Comics live streams, then please like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you're always alerted as to when I upload new content and when I go live here on YouTube. And the fun thing about being live is that there's always blunders. Like I forgot to put this little light on behind me. Boom. Now we got it. Now it looks normal, right? So let's start things off by pounding some Polar. Still have some of the winter limited edition cans left over from the other night's huge Polar Party stream. Over 3,000 people joined in. I cannot express how appreciative and grateful I am for that. But let's start this night off with a little pomegranate apple. It's good stuff. What do we got up here on the screen? So a couple things I wanted to talk about before starting Monday Night Raw. One of them is, I'm not sure if anybody's aware of this, but former women's champion Paige is still under contract with WWE. She's basically riding out the rest of her contract. She was injured in their ring, so they've basically allowed her to stay employed by the company, paying out the remainder of what was to be paid to her when she was a talent. From there, most likely, she will probably become an ambassador of sorts, as she was the beginning stages of that women's evolution in 2015, bursting onto the scene in 2014. However, just recently, there was an attempted home invasion today it happened today. An attempted home invasion where a fan who was stalking her tried to break into her house. Luckily, her boyfriend was there. He did a number on this stalker, kind of choked him out, stood over top of his body until the police arrived. This kind of stuff is absolutely ridiculous and very scary, as it comes on the heels of what took place in August regarding Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. Bazooka Joe, what's up, buddy? Loves the thumbnail. I'm just telling it like it is. And that was put up 3 hours ago before we found out who was going to be winning that three-way match. Glad you could make it, Bazooka. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but Tony Chimmel, 30-year-plus WWE employee, was released today. Everybody seems to be posting, why, WWE, why. This guy has not been an active ring announcer in years now. And the man has made an amazing living with WWE and got to travel the world and got to announce the biggest names of all time. Please, this guy was given an incredible severance, as are all of these WWE layoffs, with the potentiality of them being hired back in the coming months. I need to figure out how to get some music playing so there's not just dead air when I'm not talking. One of the other things I wanted to note is that today is Chris Jericho's 50th birthday, which feels like a fever dream that Chris Jericho could even be 50 years old. It feels like just yesterday we saw him burst onto the scene in ECW and then WCW as the Lionheart Chris Jericho. The guy's still going today. I'm not quite the biggest fan of the Le Champion stuff that he's doing in AEW right now, but the guy's still doing it, still selling merchandise, still selling arenas when it comes to Fozzy, as the wrestling stages aren't being able to be fulfilled right now. But happy birthday, Chris Jericho, from everybody here at Zach the Ripper Comics. One of the other things in relation to AEW that I kind of wanted to get into tonight is everybody seems to have a complaint, a bitch about the AEW women's division. And I'll be the first one to say that I do not think that women's division is going well right now. I did see the NWA Women's Championship match that occurred on the AEW pay-per-view buy-in pre-show, which was fantastic, but it had nothing to do with AEW or the AEW Championship. And Tony Khan addressed the situation where he said that he writes the AEW Dark Show himself. And the Dark Show, it's a clever play on words, or so they think, where the cameras aren't running, but they're still recording. And it's basically just their online-only show. Tony Khan has complete control over this. He writes it. He books it. Now, he's taking responsibility, as an owner should, that the women's division isn't living up to the hypes. And the main people's main bitch, Nyla Rose, competes in the women's division. Now, Nyla Rose is transgender. I don't have anything against that, and I don't think that people complaining do either. However, it really takes away from the fact that you're pushing this women's division. Now, if Nyla Rose identifies as a woman, that's fantastic. That's awesome. But the fact is, she has been one of your main focal points in that division since the start, and I don't think forcing her into everybody's throats immediately was the best move without being able to completely tell her story. So the crowd has seen nothing but her and against these smaller women, and they're not having the best matches because Nyla Rose isn't that good of a worker to begin with. She needs people that are better than her, like a Serena Deeb, in there that can really go. Now, Tony Khan has addressed this, as I said, and most likely he's going to be maneuvering the women's division going forward to have a lot more different variations of the females that are in there, and Nyla Rose potentially taking out of the spotlight, or at least given some more character development so people can truly understand what she's all about. Now, as far as Monday Night Raw, the thing that they've been promoting since Raw went off the air last week was Alexa Bliss's Moment of Bliss with her guest, Drew McIntyre. Now, if you watch Monday Night Raw, excuse me while I take a sip. That's good stuff. If you watch Monday Night Raw tonight, all 3 arduous, horrible hours, there was no moment of bliss. There was no moment of bliss with Drew McIntyre. That didn't happen. Instead, we opened the show with Miz TV and their guest, the WWE Champion Randy Orton. Right away, these guys are getting into it because Randy does not trust Mr. Money in the Bank Miz, as when the Miz won the WWE Championship for the first time in December of 2010, it was against Randy Orton, who he had cashed in on. These guys do not trust each other. The New Day makes their way out, making fun of everybody. They end up getting their ass kicked for opening their mouths, which is actually quite funny that it occurred this way. Drew McIntyre makes the save, which sets up a 6-man tag team match in our main event tonight, as Drew McIntyre and the New Day defeated Miz, Morrison, and Randy Orton. Randy Orton found out within the middle of the show that he would be defending the WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre next week on Monday Night Raw. They're trying to load up the WWE Raw card, as that rating has been absolutely tanking in the past few weeks. SmackDown has gone up with the addition of Roman Reigns, and ever since the draft, Raw has absolutely tanked. Now, you do have to keep in mind that football is back, and WWE might not consider the NFL competition, but they are going against Monday Night Football, regardless of how bad it is, every Monday night. They continue the Sheamus-Drew McIntyre storyline, as Sheamus is complaining about things that happened regarding his career tonight on Monday Night Raw. And they're playing up that these guys have a backstage buddy friendship that we've never seen on WWE television. They did this with Heath Slater when Drew first won the championship last spring, but we saw them in 3MB. We knew that they had a history. Now, if you're in the know, yeah, you know that Drew McIntyre and Sheamus came up in the UK together, but that story hasn't been told on WWE television. So they're telling the middle part of the story without having said the beginning. Very weird, but Sheamus is bitching to Drew. Drew bitches back to Sheamus. It's not a funny segment, although it's supposed to be. Moving on. In the three-way match, the second chance to join the Men's Survivor Series team, which consists of AJ Styles and his buddy, Jordan, Sheamus, Keith Lee, Braun Strowman, and whomever wins this three-way. Riddle versus Jeff Hardy versus Elias. Three guys that nobody watching this, including myself, cares about, put into one match where we're made to care about them. Why? Because they were all losers the first time around. This thought process is really stupid. Matt Riddle gets the win. He's in the Survivor Series match. He ends up having this horrible promo where he gives all of his teammates these code names that are just stupid. And I get it, wink, wink. It's supposed to be stupid because the guy's high. It doesn't matter what it's supposed to be. It's just stupid. It just is, and it's not funny. Speaking of horrible promos, Retribution has another one where Mustafa Ali talks about Ricochet, and the fact that Ricochet had the chance and the opportunity to join Retribution to be a part of it. He said no. And then Mia Yim, Reckoning, whatever her stupid name is, she, of course, gets the chance to speak because they want my eardrums to explode and bleed from my ear canals right into my lap, and then I slurp them up. She's horrible. She is not any better on the microphone. Twice she's gotten COVID because of how stupid she is in real life. Why is this person employed and on my television? This sets up Mustafa Ali versus Ricochet, which easily could have been an undercard match on the upcoming pay-per-view, but they decided to do it here on Raw. It was a decent match with a bunch of guys that don't sell anything, ending in a submission that I did not see coming from Mustafa Ali. He gets the victory, so I guess Retribution, which was ending the shows and wreaking havoc on all the shows, is now an entry-level team. I mean, they're not even going after the Hurt Business anymore. We're targeting Ricochet? What sense does that make? I need to take a swig here for the working man. Get a little of that Yarny. No, we can't give Yarny any. Can't give Yarny any. Where are we at with this Raw show? So let me say right now that I appreciate everybody that's watching, and I appreciate everybody that will watch after the fact. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this catastrophe that was Monday Night Raw. The only credit I'll give it is that it had a ton of segments. Usually in the past 5 years, the formula Monday Night Raw was somebody cut a promo, then they had a backstage promo, and then they had a match all within the entire portion of that half-hour block. There was nothing else that happened, and everybody wrestled each other nonstop that was wrestling each other on the pay-per-view. They've broken that up as far as everyone wrestling each other. They're actually having a lot of different compelling matches, and they've added a ton of segments to Monday Night Raw, so it's in-ring segment, backstage segment, in-ring segment. Like, it goes back and forth much more frequently and furiously than it did before. The problem is they don't have the talent to execute all of this. So a lot of the matches are bad. Almost every single interview backstage, pre-taped, is bad. They need to get these guys and girls trained up on their promos. It's a shame they don't have the promo class with Dusty Rhodes anymore. Obviously, he's passed on. But when that was around, we got some of the best talkers in modern history coming out of that. So Drew Gulak, 24/7 champion, wants to join the Hurt Business. They clown him and make fun of him and say no thanks. They rip his tie off. They beat him up. Once they beat him up and walk away, R-Truth covers him 1, 2, 3. He's the new 24/7 champion. As he tries to celebrate, he's informed backstage that he's going to be in a 7-pack challenge later tonight for his hardcore championship. Oh, that's a Freudian slip. It's not a hardcore championship because they're not allowed to do anything hardcore. If you try to watch their videos on your YouTube machine, anytime they go to use any kind of a weapon whatsoever, it freeze frames as if this is like 2002 Half-Life on your PC. So in this 7-pack challenge, You have R-Truth. You have Tucker. But why? How? Akira Tozawa. Drew Gulak's getting his chance to be back in there. Lince Dorado. Grand Metalik. I gotta look. Oh, Eric from the Viking Raiders. The title changes hand 9 times in the match because why not? It doesn't mean anything, and people like title changes. So let's just do 9 of them in one match that really didn't serve any kind of a purpose. Who in the end? R-Truth. R-Truth retains in the end. It's this belt can be fun. It can be booked in compelling, really creative ways. This was not one of them. Tucker already being involved in this and winning it and losing it, like, come on. He's done. He's dead in the water already. How long until he mysteriously shows back up on a joint branded pay-per-view to reform the tag team heavy machinery with Otis, just like they did with Devon and Bubba Ray, the Dudley Boys, in the 2002 Survivor Series, which I cannot believe was 18 years ago already. All right. So we didn't get to have a moment of bliss with Alexa Bliss. They advertised it for a week. They just took it away without talking about it because we won't remember. Why are we supposed to care about the product to begin with if you don't think we're even going to remember anything? It doesn't make any sense. But here we are on YouTube talking about it, right? So Nikki Cross comes up to Alexa Bliss backstage, and Alexa Bliss, fantastic actress, doing her little Harley Quinn thing well. Nikki Cross wants to know what's up with Alexa. She gives her an ultimatum to choose The Fiend or Nikki Cross. Now, come on. Who's going to choose Nikki Cross over The Fiend? I don't care who you are. Nikki Cross hasn't done anything. She's had multiple title opportunities since her and Alexa were a tag team and when they were on SmackDown together, and she failed every single one of them. She's the reason they lost the women's tag team titles to begin with. So if you're in this and you're in the headspace of Alexa Bliss, why would you even give Nikki Cross the time of day? She decides to let her know that she chooses The Fiend, blows a bunch of tulip flowers right in Nikki's face, and walks off. Now, if this was 6 months ago, I would say that we're supposed to feel sympathy for Nikki Cross as her friend has left her for the deep, dark, evil clown. But things have changed, and Alexa Bliss is on a babyface run right now with The Fiend, whether they want to admit it or not. His merchandise shows it all that he is the most sold merchandise person in the company right now. I think we're going to turn this into where Nikki Cross becomes like the jealous heel ex-friend of Alexa, and she'll end up getting somebody on her side, and then The Fiend can destroy the somebody and blah, 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 blah. Either way, it was a fun little segment. We go from there as far as the women are concerned. We have Shayna Baszler, one half of the women's tag team champions, taking on Lana. We all know where this is going, and it goes exactly there. It's a squash match. Shayna Baszler makes Lana tap out. They attempt to put her through a table again, but that's thwarted by Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, who were on commentary, trying to plead to Nia and Shayna that they're all on the same Survivor Series team in just 2 weeks. They stop her from putting her through a table, and it does not happen. Backstage, Lana tries to thank Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. They want nothing to do with it because it was just a month ago that they were feuding with Lana and her partner at the time, Natalya. So it's turmoil within the women, as seems to be the story with all of the Survivor Series teams right now. Nobody's getting along. This leads to later in the night where Nia Jax takes on Asuka. Asuka, who's taken a back seat to everybody since being handed the Women's Championship by Becky Lynch right after WrestleMania. Asuka was a fantastic television character, fantastic heel, a reason to tune in to the early era of the pandemic Monday Night Raws because she was all over and doing such a great job. Has barely been on the recent episodes since they've been in the Thunderdome and is basically more bland than she was her first go-around as a babyface. Either way, disqualification victory for Asuka as Shayna gets involved. All the women from the Survivor Series team get into a huge brawl, and Nia Jax, for the 8th week in a row, puts Lana through a table. Obviously, we're in on the joke now. They're in on the joke. We know what's going on. It's all going to lead to Lana getting the retribution that she deserves against the bigger Nia Jax. How we doing over in this chat? Bazooka Joe. Bazooka, did you watch any of this? Let's do Ginger Peach. What else do we have going on in this Monday Night Raw? We also learned that the Hurt Business, most likely Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, are going to be taking on the New Day for the Tag Team Championships next week. Now, next week, again, as I said earlier, is a loaded show where you have now the tag title match and the WWE Championship match between champion Randy Orton and challenger Drew McIntyre. This could be a clever, albeit obvious, way to get the belts switched so that the Sunday's Survivor Series doesn't have face-face and heel-heel championship matches. It at least creates a little bit of intrigue to tune in to Monday Night Raw next week, and then from there tune in to Zach the Ripper Comics review and reaction of Monday Night Raw. My ear itches. And as far as the Hurt Business, they cut a little promo. They're always entertaining. They're really good. I think they deserve a little bit more time on television in their speaking roles. Bobby Lashley was gloating at the fact that he's the United States champion. He's the dominant one. Titus O'Neil comes out. If you remember, a few weeks ago, Titus O'Neil wanted to join the Hurt Business. They lured him in and then beat him and left him laying backstage. He says that he wants revenge, and he's going to prove that he's better than any of them. And as far as Bobby's concerned, you can't say you're the best champion when you never defend the title. So Bob, as MVP calls him, puts the title on the line, completely demolishes Titus O'Neil, leaves him laying. Bobby Lashley is still your United States champion. How about that? There's a hole in my lip. Did you guys see that? Completely spilled. So that's Monday Night Raw. Again, I commend them on the fact that they're adding a lot more than just half-hour wrestling matches. There's a lot of backstage stuff. There's a lot of pre-tape stuff. I really enjoy that. I just don't enjoy the execution from the current talent they have there in those roles and in those backstage vignettes. I think if you can direct the talent better and get slightly better creative now that you're opening the mind back up to these backstage stuff, I think the show can be much better down the road. I'm going to say again, it seems like this is the modern level of the WWE product altogether, and I'm going to say it's a C, and that's being a little bit generous because some of the matches were just bland this week and felt more like squashes than competitive matchups. And I'm all for squashes coming back as long as it's kind of obvious and deliberate that that's what we're doing, rather than insulting my intelligence and kind of making me believe that this clown has a chance to begin with. Eagles news now. Monday Night Raw is in the house. Eagles news now. Chris Wilde, how you doing, buddy? You and the Bazooka Man in here in this chat. I am going to assume that Chris Wilde watched the Monday Night Football game instead of WWE Monday Night Raw. I'm not sure if he'll be honest with us and tell us one way or another. Doink could have been a viable contender. I agree. I completely agree. Doink was fantastic. Oh, Chris Wilde's at the shoot gimmick. I didn't think you could do the live stream Jones from the shoot gimmick. By the way, we're doing Ginger Peach. A little Ginger Peach action. Why am I holding it like this? Look at that. That's dumb. Here we go. So the other night on the Polar Party 1,000 subscriber live stream that has over 3,000 views right now, I was drinking these tall boys, these winter limited edition polar flavors. I was drinking these tall boys, and Chris Wilde made a really, really good point. You know, there's a normal polar can. What's that look like to you? Kind of looks like this guy here, right? Looks like 1984 Hulk Hogan. And then we have this guy. This is the limited edition tall boy can. Kind of looks like this guy. Like 93, 94 off the gas Jones Hogan. That's a good little point. Yarny's moving. He does every once in a while. What you can't see is that he's actually sitting with PlayStation DualSense. So, Chris, I know you just got here. I went over Monday Night Raw. C-show, maybe. Talked about Paige and that home invasion. Did you hear any of that stuff? Tony Khan in the AEW women's division around Nyla Rose and Serena Deeb. What else did we talk about? Sal Goodman's here is that polar water or alcoholic water. I've never heard of alcoholic water. I'm assuming you mean the hard seltzers with the alcohol in them. This is regular polar. Polar. Ginger peach. And I also have some pomegranate apples left. We pounded through most of these the other night on the live stream. Chris Wilde, Eagles News Now. Did not watch Raw yet. I'm going to say don't bother, but I'm pretty sure you will anyhow. It was bad. I wish I had the Dean here again. These live streams, I can't get Dean Douglas to join them as he's busy up in Harvard. I think he would have agreed with me, though, on the fact that it's a C. Where can I buy that polar? If you're interested in the limited edition winter flavor polars, there's 4 different flavors: ginger peach, pomegranate apple, Concord clementine, and the last one that I'm forgetting right now. You can get all 4 of those at boxed.com, BOXED.com. Basically, you're going to get 24 cans per case, 4 cases of 6 cans. What was that other news topic? I forgot already. Oh, Tony Chimmel was released. We went over that. I mean, the guy has a great bank account. He's done a great job. They'll probably hire him back at some point. Then he'll get an ambassador role, and he'll get a Hall of Fame $10,000 check. The guy had a good run. Yeah, sucks. Tony's a good guy. It is what it is. And then the fact that today is Chris Jericho's 50th, well, yesterday now, Chris Jericho's 50th birthday. I know Chris Wilde, who's been huge supporter of Chris Jericho over the last couple of years as far as what he's done in AEW. I admit it, I'm not a big fan of him, but it is crazy, as Chris says, that Chris Jericho is 50 years old. Like, when I was a kid, I saw Chris Jericho, the Lionheart, and he was going to be the next big thing. And now here we are, he's 50 years old, still every week putting on pretty good matches, depending on who he works. It's amazing. Chris Jericho, he's 50. He looks good. He does look good. He does look good. He's definitely still kicking ass. I think he's starting to use some of that nice Topic powder shit right up in there. But hey, you know what? The dude's amazing in the ring. He's 50 years old. That's wild. That's wild. Who do we have in here? Bazooka Joe, Sal Goodman, Eagles News Now. You guys have anything specific that you'd like to talk about? Anything you want me to go back over as far as Raw? Again, I went through most of it. I went through all of it before most of you guys got in here. A couple of the news topics. I don't know if you were in here yet, Sal and Eagles News Now. One of the things I found really odd is that, like, directly after Monday Night Raw ended last week, they advertised a Moment of Bliss this week with Drew McIntyre. shoved it down our throats. It was in my email. I was getting text messages, this moment of bliss, moment of bliss, moment of bliss, and it never happened. And I never even said why it wasn't happening. Bray did nothing. Bray did nothing. He did not exist on this Monday Night Raw. He was mentioned, well, The Fiend was mentioned because Nikki Cross confronted Alexa Bliss backstage and basically gave her an ultimatum that she had to choose The Fiend, who she's already been with and already chose, or she had to choose to being the friend and being the tag team partner of Nikki Cross again. And as I went over earlier, Nikki Cross has been on a losing streak since they lost the belts for like 6 months now. Why would you choose her? She's a loser. So Alexa Bliss chose The Fiend. She was taken off like petals to a rose and then blew them right in Nikki Cross's face and walked away. And I think if this was like 6 months ago, that Nikki Cross would end up being like the sympathy babyface here. But she looks like this scorned ex-lover idiot, loser. And now she's probably going to be going after Alexa Bliss. Maybe she'll get somebody, maybe Tucker, to be her ugly knight in shining armor to go against Alexa and The Fiend. But yeah, he didn't do anything. He wasn't there. What they advertised didn't happen. And the guy that is the biggest babyface wasn't there. So mission accomplished, right? I love Nikki's crazy gimmick. I did too. I wouldn't say I loved it, but it worked, and it worked well for her. The music worked. I remember saying to you, I think we were on our way to New Orleans, and I said, I can't stand Sanity. I think it's stupid, but the song and the gimmick and the lighting and everything, the look worked for her. Like, it was all her. I really liked that. Now she just has generic music, generic gear, and she's a scorned friend. Who cares? Hopefully she brings it back to face Harley Bliss. That is a really good point, to be honest with you. And that might be why they switched things up recently with her, to kind of force the extra faceness so that she can revert back to that in order to even compete with the Harley Quinn Alexa Bliss. That's a really good point. I like that. She's one of my favorite people, legit. Nikki, that is. Yeah, I know. And if you guys don't know, Eagles News Now, my tag team partner, Chris Wilde, he has competed for WWE on multiple occasions. And Nikki Cross is a great person. She went out of her way to give Chris's daughter some really cool merchandise and pictures and all kinds of things. Really good person. But when it comes to her TV persona, which is what the point of this is, which is what we're talking about, not quite hitting the nail right now. She's bigger than Bazooka Joe muscle-wise. Who isn't? That's my question. Like, maybe 93 Hogan? Maybe. I mean, come on. You know? Especially a guy like Kevin Owens. Luckily, he wasn't on our screen tonight. Shango. Shango's way bigger than Bazooka. I would say even early Hasbro Jones Jake the Snake, bigger than Bazooka. Bigger than Bazooka. Let's get back to some Ginger Peach. I always want to say Georgia Peach. Ginger Peach. I'll tell you this. I've had some Ginger Peach, Ginger Pear different seltzers, and weren't as good as this. They had this weird crispness. This one's perfect. I like it. The Hogan can, bigger than Bazooka Joe. Way bigger. Is Sal Goodman still here? Sal, are you still here? Let me know if you're here, Sal. I have a question. Can we name anything that's not bigger than Bazooka Joe? You hate the Sean Rocker figure. Yeah, it's not one of the best, this guy here. But I have a lot of nostalgia for it. Look, he's missing a finger. I have a lot of nostalgia for it because the Rockers were actually the first Hasbros that I got. Least favorite Hasbro. I mean, it's got to be one of the weird ones that like you can't even wrestle with. You know, like Skinner's hard to wrestle with. Macho Man Series 3, really hard to wrestle with. But then you get into the territory of ugly ones. Like, I think Rick Rude and Jake Roberts, the skinny body's ugly. Flair, ugly. 93 Hogan, really ugly. Um, I'm trying to look at my other ones because I don't off the bat have a least favorite. I don't, without seeing all of them in front of me, I'm going to say that 93 Hogan, to be honest with you. It's it's just a bad Hogan. It's boring. It's not tan. And we all know that if you're not tan, you're not winning the championship, especially from Hogan. You hate the Macho Man Series 3. See, I like it as a figure, but you can't play with it. Or you couldn't, I should say. You know, old days. Pomegranate apple. You want to hear it? Look at that. Little ASMR ripper. Yeah, look, see, you can see it. Look at that. Look how good that is. You want to sit? You want to try it? The orange. Oh, on the Macho Man, yeah, for sure. Oh, show. So tomorrow, the Xbox, or today, I should say, since it's now Tuesday, I forgot my train of thought. Woo! The Xbox Series S and X come out tomorrow, and then Thursday is the release of the PlayStation 5. Chris Wild, which one are you getting, and how many of each are you getting? We need custom Hasbros. I have a custom Hasbro right here. The Lord of Darkness of you and I. There's a lot of stuff. Sounded like Christopher Walken. What the heck? There's a lot of people saying that the Xbox Series S is complete joke and garbage and isn't going to be worth it. I really disagree, and here's why. The people that are buying the Xbox Series S aren't the ones that care about 4K. They're not the ones that care about ray tracing. Like, they don't care and don't need that. They're going to be college kids. They're going to be young kids with their first job. It's going to be parents buying them for their kids. They can get into a next gen console for $300 and they can play the newest and greatest game that comes out for it for that. They can all. They can also, for $10 a month, subscribe to Microsoft Game Pass and play over 100 titles, a barrage of different titles every month. That's a fantastic, fantastic console. If you're buying a new gaming system for an 8-year-old, they're not going to see 4K versus 1080p. So for everybody out there that's doubting the Series S, there's no reason to doubt. I think it's a fantastic idea. I wish that the Sony PlayStation would have had a cheaper model also. Who would win, Dusty or Yoko? Yoko all day long. I don't care. The 3 people that are watching this are going to all probably leave. Dusty Rhodes in the ring was so overrated, and Yokozuna is so underrated. Completely, completely, completely. Yokozuna would crush him. Here's the thing. Dusty Rhodes was a smart enough, talented enough worker to get himself into top main event positions. Once he got to those positions, he wormed his way into creative and backstage and everything, and he was able to stay afloat at that top level for the length that he did because of that. Eagles News now agrees about Yoko winning. Oh, Sal Goodman. Dusty would kill him. Okay, so on the opposite end, Sal, what makes you think that Dusty would kill Yoko? It's I assumed, Sal, that he meant agree. But that's a good point. Or so Eagles News Now, what do you think of that? So Dusty survived the Road Warriors. Easy for me to say. Survived the Road Warriors and what was it? The Asiatic spike right to the eye when they were told they couldn't do it and they couldn't get blood and they did it. Everybody survived Flair. I don't know if that's as fair of a reason. That's true. The Horsemen kidnapped him. That's true. But Yoko was put into a casket and came back from it. They did. Sal Goodman is apparently the avatar name for Dusty Rhodes because he is in here completely schooling Zack the Ripper comics, cage matches. Well, I mean, Yoko couldn't have a cage match. If Yoko was in a cage match, he hits those ropes, that cage is going down, he can walk right out. So I think as far as cage matches, I'd give it to Yoko. Blood masks, you know. How about the Midnight Rider? Crimson Baby. So we talked Raw, we talked wrestling news, we talked the Xbox Series S. Yoko was salmon, though. I'm pretty sure Eagles News Now means Samoan, and that's true. The Samoans are absolute badasses. We'll see what Sal has in retort to the fact that he was salmon. I don't think Dusty ever beat a Samoan. Did Dusty ever face a Samoan? I don't know. This is interesting. This live stream completely took way different direction than I expected, but this is what's great about Zack the Ripper Comics, about YouTube, about a community, is that you can come on here to try to talk Monday Night Raw, and we end up talking about which Hasbros are better than the other, and which of the two fat asses, Dusty Rhodes or Yokozuna, is better than the other one. Dusty beat the Wild Samoans. The Wild Samoans or the Samoan sweet Samoan sweet team? Samoan SWAT team. Where did he, if it was the Wild Samoans, where did he beat them? Was it New York or Florida? Sal does not play with toys. It's interesting. Sal, what do you play with if not toys? This I think pomegranate apple, I gave this and the ginger peach 10 out of 10, and I think they both are 10 out of 10 out of the 4, but I think I prefer the pomegranate apple. Get a look inside that can. See that? Look at the focus. That is amazing. All right, kids. We're going to wrap this up. I don't want Eagles News Now and his salmon getting too wet or too worried. There was a fly in here. In here? There was a fly in here? It was probably just my arm. Probably just my arm. Injuries take your body away. Oh, in my can? Well, not anymore. I want to thank you guys for showing up. This has been a fun stream. I hope on the playback you enjoy all of this. Thank Bazooka Joe. Thank Sal Goodman. Thank Eagles News Now. Thank everybody else that was in and out. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate all of my patrons on Patreon for supporting this channel, keeping it going, allowing me to do this. For everybody liking the Facebook, finding us on Instagram, hitting up that eBay store, as tomorrow we are putting up brand new comic books on there. Visiting the Teespring store, which is in the description below, for all of your Zack the Ripper Comics merchandise. Liking this video, subscribing to the channel. Until next time.